Hello and welcome to Woodland Terrace. It's our pleasure to share this informational video with you today. One thing that we've been thinking about is how important it is to share all the wonderful things that we're doing to keep our community and our residents safe during this COVID pandemic. Here at Woodland Terrace, we've been here for 20 years with opportunities to have independent living, assisted living, and memory care here on site, nestled on 22 beautiful acres off of Kildare Farms Road. So today we're going to bring up various members of our team here at Woodland Terrace, and they're going to share with you some of the things that we've been doing to keep our community safe, to keep our residents active, and just kind of answer how things have changed a little bit while we're under COVID. So to start things off, I'm going to bring up from our dining team, Michael Morris, to share some of the things about our dining program here at Woodland Terrace. Michael, thanks for joining us this morning.
Absolutely.
So obviously we know meals are a very important part of our residents' experience here at the community. And COVID's kind of changed everything for us. What are the things we're doing to make dining still a special experience for them in a COVID environment?
Well, we are switching up our menus on a regular basis. We just recently made a switch, so we're running some new items right now, trying to keep everything fresh and bright for our residents. Because we understand the challenges involved in having a closed dining room. So, trying to switch up the menu using fresh ingredients that the majority of are locally sourced, and try to just make it as good as we can under the circumstances.
Wonderful. And right now I know for safety reasons our dining room are closed, so how are our residents getting their meals?
We are offering delivery to their rooms or cottages. So we box up everything they ask for and we hand deliver it to their door.
Wonderful, wonderful. And kind of what's some of the response you've gotten from the residents so far?
So far the response has been very positive. People are really enjoying that we're going the extra mile for them. And they are really appreciative of the efforts that we're putting in to make sure they're enjoying breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate you sharing those experiences from dining today.
Absolutely.
So next up, we're going to bring up Steffi Watts from our wellness team.
Hello,
Hi, Steffi. So wellness is a title in itself. For those that aren't familiar with Woodland Terrace, may not know what wellness is. What does the wellness team do with the community?
We bring the fun, we bring the engagement, we keep the residents going. We follow the 6 dimensions of wellness, where we incorporate the intellectual component through trivia, the social component where they get to engage with their peers, the emotional component, the vocational component, the physical component, and one more. What am I drawing a blank on now? Oh, this guy.
Is it intellectual?
Spiritual.
Spiritual, yes.
Spiritual, because we know that one going too. So we're keeping them connected to their families and to what really keeps them going in life.
Well, wonderful segue there. So obviously with the COVID pandemic, things have changed greatly. So how is the wellness team keeping our residents active and engaged?
In the beginning, when we went under quarantine having a positive case, we took packets to their rooms that had puzzles and calm coloring. We started a process of window visits with our assisted living and memory care to keep them face to face with their family members safely through the window. And we've started Zoom calls with their families as well if they're not able to make it in person. We have families who send us videos on YouTube, and we can add it to their in-house television channel, which we've also filled up with YouTube videos on trivia and art and traveling the world to keep them, even though they're inside our walls physically, mentally they can be wherever they'd like to be.
Wonderful. Now, over the course of the pandemic, we have had some improvement in the restrictions, so now we can gather in small groups inside and a little bit larger groups outside. Kind of how has that changed what you're doing with the activities and wellness?
They have to sign up to attend outings, and we do have limits depending on the size of the room on how many we can have in a room together. We do ask that they wear their face coverings, and then if we're doing trivia and they have a hard time without reading lips, then we have face shields that we can wear as well. We have a lot of outdoor activities because we can have more people outdoors. It's a little hard when it's 95, 96 degrees out there, so with the cooler weather, we're looking forward to more of those. And we are doing everything as safely as possible. With bingo, we have daubers that we can sanitize easier to keep them engaged in something they absolutely love. There's so many ways we can adapt programming to meet the needs and still have everybody together, just socially distanced and safe.
Wonderful. And I know that over the course of the pandemic, we've also been able to open up a few areas of the community, like residents can use the pool and the gym now?
Yes, they can. We can have up to 2 residents in either the pool or the fitness center. You sign up at the front desk for time slots. There's a 15-minute slot in between residents who will visit, and that way we can sanitize between. And then Narelle will talk about our fogging machine that's used in the fitness center every afternoon before we leave, and it sanitizes all the machines and equipment.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing about the wonderful things wellness are doing here at the community.
Thank you, Matt.
Next up, in a kind of a segue to what Steffi was talking about, we're going to bring up Narelle Bentley, our Environmental Services Director. All right, so environmental services here at Woodland Terrace, and for some people may not be familiar with that term, what does that kind of cover?
Environmental services covers housekeeping, laundry, custodial, and maintenance.
Wonderful. So I know a big part that has changed, obviously, in the COVID environment is, keeping the community safe by continuous sanitation and disinfecting. What is this contraption? What are some of the things you're doing here in the community to take care of that?
Right, so the pandemic has definitely caused us to have to adapt and change our normal operations. And a lot of the changes we've made have been to our technology and the chemicals that we use. So this is an electrostatic sprayer, and we have the small version here. We also have a larger backpack sprayer. And the electrostatic technology allows us to coat areas more thoroughly, more evenly, and gives us a more effective clean. So we're using these, as Steffi mentioned, in like the gymnasiums, in common areas, living rooms, even in the dining rooms, and any of our common areas to help us do that clean faster, more efficiently, and it really makes a big difference.
Wonderful. So this is a small, but the bigger version is one that kind of looks like the Ghostbusters backpack.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So what does kind of the daily sanitation look like at the community? Kind of what are we focusing on every day to make sure the community stays clean and safe?
Right. So the housekeeping team is making sure that their common areas are cleaned 3 times daily. So once in the afternoon, once after their lunch break, and then once in the morning when they first arrive. So that makes sure that all of our high-touch areas, doorknobs, handrails, tables, chairs, and all of those things are touched pretty frequently to make sure that they're sanitized throughout the day.
One thing that obviously is a service that we provide here at Woodland Terrace that has probably gone over a little bit of changes is the in-apartment housekeeping. So what has we kind of changed with the pandemic to make sure we're providing still the full housekeeping service, but in a safe manner?
Right, so we've actually changed some of our chemicals that we've used, where before we were using the multi-micro solution with a 10-minute dwell time. We're now using a chemical that has a much faster kill time. It's over 99% effective in killing the coronavirus. It's called BioEsk. It's a green chemical. So they're using that, and it allows them to clean the apartments faster without having that 10-minute dwell time, as this chemical only has a 2-minute kill time. So they're using that, sanitizing all high-touch areas, countertops, refrigerator handles, bathrooms, and all of those areas more thoroughly, and they're able to do it a lot faster.
Wonderful. As they go in, are they wearing masks and gloves? Are they what are they wearing as far as protective equipment when they go into the apartments?
Absolutely. So they're always wearing their masks, making sure those are on and fit properly, and they're wearing gloves. When we have residents that may be in quarantine or new arrivals, they're also wearing our coverall suits and shoe covers.
Wonderful. Thank you, Narelle. Appreciate it. So next up, Woodland Terrace has a lot of great partners that we work with. One of those is Legacy Healthcare. So I'd like to bring up Chris Mullis from Legacy to talk a little bit about their services. Thanks for being with us today, Chris.
Of course, Matt.
So tell me a little bit, what services does Legacy provide here at the community?
We provide physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. Physical therapy is a lot of walking, balance, ambulation, and strengthening your lower extremities. Occupational therapy, what we focus on is activities of daily living, or ADLs, which could be self-feeding, toileting, dressing, bathing, anything like that. And then speech therapy works on swallowing and a lot of cognition issues.
Wonderful. So in the COVID environment that we're in now, obviously staying active is a very important part of it. How is Legacy able to kind of help our residents maintain their current level of independence and keep active and keep moving during this?
Yeah, so we've been focusing on the individual as a whole, physically, mentally, cognitively. We have implemented a bunch of trainings, some safety and motion trainings, a lot of hydration training, and just some creative ways to get some social engagement and get out there in the community.
Wonderful. So, and for our residents that are here at the community that utilize Legacy, is Legacy covered by most insurances? How does that work?
Yes, Legacy is covered by most insurances. I think there's only a few that we don't cover, but we haven't had any difficulties here with any insurances.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for the service that Legacy provides here at the community, and thank you for being here
Of course,
today.
thank you, Matt.
So next up, obviously in a community like ours, we have independent living, assisted living, and memory care. And assisted living and memory care, that's a high care area. And so I want to bring up a team member from our care services. So I'd like to bring up Dementia Care Coordinator Joey Skelton.
Hey, Matt.
Hey Joey, thanks for being here today. So tell me a little bit about kind of what we're doing as far as care for our residents in assisted living and memory care to keep them safe during this COVID situation.
I think a big part of it is the four pillars of health, which we do on a daily basis. So we're monitoring our residents for signs and symptoms on an ongoing basis. We're making sure that we're wearing our face covers, our masks, and also we're social distancing, and that we are doing proper hand hygiene, not just for us as staff, but also for the residents as well.
Is there any thing that you're doing with the team to kind of help train them or work with them through the COVID environment so they can better provide care for the residents?
Yes, it's ongoing. Every day is different. What we thought we knew or we did know a couple months ago is different today. It's constantly evolving. We do, in services with the staff, new things that we come across through our home office, through the news outlets. We kind of provide those to the staff in efforts to kind of, teach them what we come across because, like I said, it is constantly changing.
And Stephanie touched on it a little bit earlier. How is our care team staying in touch with the families? Because the tough part for our assisted living memory care families is obviously we're being very restrictive in those areas, so they can't come in as much. So how are your team staying in touch with them with any care-related issues and allowing them to kind of connect as well?
It is difficult. You kind of don't realize, how things work until you have to change. So, communication with families has become more important than ever. I constantly encourage families to call me, call the staff, call someone, email, because these outlets where people can come in and see their loved ones, that's kind of gone. So we really have to become creative.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Joey, so much. I appreciate you sharing that today.
Thank you.
So next up, we're going to bring up Mike Jacobs, our Resident Relations Director. Hi, Mike. Thanks for joining us.
Sure.
So Resident Relations, tell us a little bit about what that kind of encompasses here at Woodland Terrace.
Sure. As the Resident Relations Director, I oversee both of the front desks here. We have the independent living and the assisted living front desk. So those two areas are really the main hub of communication. So just keeping an eye on customer satisfaction, handling billing, welcoming all the new residents who move into our community, and ensuring that they have a good first 30 days and a good experience in general at Woodland Terrace.
Wonderful. So we touched on it a little bit when I was speaking with Joey just before you. I know a big part of resident relations is keeping in touch with family members as well communicating with the residents. We'll start with the residents. What are some things we're doing to keep communication open with the residents as they may not be coming out as much due to kind of some restrictions we have in place?
Sure. So our primary means for communicating with the residents is what we call our resident community updates, and we send those out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We hand deliver those like a paper memo to the resident's apartment door so that they're in the loop. We also send that same memo out to the residents' family members to keep family members abreast to any changes going on in the community, or just announcements. Sometimes Matt puts some fun jokes in there to get a good laugh from all the residents and families as well.
I think the discussion is still out if they're funny or corny. There's kind of somewhere in the middle. But so another part of that, obviously, you touched on is when folks move into the community. So obviously, right now we are having folks move into the community, which is wonderful, and a lot of people are making that decision. Which we think is a great decision. So what are we doing to kind of help that process run smooth in just really different environment?
Sure. So in this environment, obviously when our residents do come to the community, we are asking them to self-quarantine for 14 days. However, we can help them to get a COVID-19 test so that we can diminish that quarantine time so that they can enjoy their time in the community a little bit sooner than that 14 days. We also have our resident welcome committee, or what we call our friendship committee. And they're going to pair up with any of our new residents who move into the community and make sure they're feeling welcome in these unprecedented times. As Steffi from Wellness had alluded to earlier, we are still having programs and activities going on, just on a smaller scale basis. So really getting the residents involved on a peer basis and inviting them to events like that, especially in the absence of dining where they can't make those connections. So that's a big part of just getting the resident buy-in and getting the residents here to interact with the residents that have just moved in and getting them situated.
Wonderful. So you touched on testing as part of it. So I know, obviously, I know that's a question a lot of people ask as they're getting ready to move in. So I know we're testing that availability before a resident moves in, then plus after they move in to shorten the quarantine. Are we doing any testing elsewise in the community, kind of make sure everyone's safe?
Definitely. Right now, because we don't have any positive cases, knock on wood, we're doing what we call random surveillance testing. So we just take a random set of residents and staff members each week. They get tested. We get the results back in 1 to 2 days, which is really nice. Assuming all those tests come back negative, great. We're just going to continue on that cadence of testing. However, if we do spring a positive test, that would trigger us to then test the entire community. So the entire staff, the entire resident population would need to be tested. And we would continue that testing process until everyone's negative, and then we would revert back to the random surveillance testing.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate you sharing that information with us today.
Thank you.
And before I bring up our next guest, one thing I wanted to add is when we do those testing, there is no cost to our staff or our associates. So the cost of those testing are fully covered. So next up, I'd like to bring up Catherine Earl. Catherine is our sales director here at Woodland Terrace.
Good morning, Matt.
Good morning. So we've heard a lot of great stuff of things that are happening here at Woodland Terrace. And right now, obviously, a lot of people may be looking for a senior community, but may be hesitant. And hopefully some of the things they've heard today have kind of eased those fears. So if someone's looking for a senior living community and calls Woodland Terrace, what are you telling them is some of the key factors that make it a good choice to move into our community right now?
Well, one thing about moving into Woodland Terrace is we believe in keeping our residents active in their mind and physically. And another thing about Woodland Terrace, we are nestled in a residential area, and we've been tried, true, and trusted in the community. So it's a great fit. We have worked out any kinks with as far as providing care and just socialization for our residents. So it makes sense that we have all great things going on here.
Wonderful. So if someone would like more information, watch this on Facebook today, and would like more information about Woodland Terrace, how could they get in touch with you?
Well, you can just simply call Woodland Terrace. I am part of the sales director role. My extension is 4202, or you can email me at Catherine with a C, .Earl, E-A-R-L, at KiscoSL.com.
Wonderful. Thank you, Catherine. So I'd like to kind of close up our filming today, and thank you for joining us. I hope you found this very informative. As Executive Director, I'm very proud of all the individuals that you saw come up here today and the response that we've done to the COVID situation, which has been ever-changing. It seems like every week we learn something new and have to pivot and change a little bit. I think we've done an amazing job. I'd also like to thank, if they're watching today, our residents and their families. They have been amazing and understanding with everything that's been going on. And we truly do believe we have a family here, and we call it the Woodland Terrace family. And we'd love for those of you that are watching that aren't part of our family to reach out and find out more about it, and hopefully one day become part of our family here at Woodland Terrace. So thank you for joining us today.